Hello! If you are a middle school math teacher struggling with the stress and chaos that is everything heading back to school, because there's a lot going on, this video is for you. We are going to be chatting about the 5 easiest and painless strategies to get prepped for back to school in your middle school math class. If we don't already know each other, my name is Kathy Martin and I'm the creator of the Pre-Algebra Teachers Middle School Math Membership, your one-stop shop for everything you need to teach middle school math. So, like I said, we got 5 easy and painless strategies to make heading back to school super easy and super painless. Let's dive right in, shall we? Okay, step number 1, you are going to want to prep your physical classroom. Now, I know this sounds obvious, like duh, but I just want to also remind you that while you are prepping your physical classroom, you do not need to stress yourself out by making it or feeling like you have to make it look Pinterest perfect. I know social media makes us feel so much pressure, and I just want to say it's okay. You don't have to do that, okay? Things that you do want to make sure that you've prepped though is your teacher desk. So it's organized, because when your desk is organized, you will feel so much less chaos, and it just instantly brings some calm, okay? So your teacher desk, your student's desk, your boards, not like bulletin boards, feeling like you need to make them, decorate them or anything like that. Your classroom, like whiteboards. I don't know if anyone uses chalkboards anymore, but for me, it's whiteboards. So on my whiteboards, I have the daily warm-up for the day. So that always has to be there before school starts. The date, and then our agenda. So really those 3 things. As long as those things are on the board, everything else doesn't matter. And then the last area you kind of want to prep in your physical classroom is the area where your students kind of have their supplies. So for me, I have a shelf. It's green, so I refer to it as the green shelf. That is where my students can touch everything. They can use anything on the green shelf, because my desk off limits. So on the green shelf, there's extra paper, there's extra pencils. They can keep their textbooks there. There's, what else is there? Staplers, hole punchers, calculators. It's just kind of their little area with all of their office supplies. Like, they are not allowed to go into my cabinets, to get paper, to get whatever. They're not allowed to touch things on my desk. They know that the green shelf is for them. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, you want to have your rules and consequences ready. You want to make sure that you have thought about what you want the rules in your class to be and what those consequences can be. And with the consequences, you want to make sure that they're actually things that you can follow through with. So, I see a lot of teachers who, I'm trying to think, like their consequences are, like, I'm going to make you stay after school for X amount of minutes. Like, well, is that allowed at your district and your school? Because there might be rules against it, like literal rules, like by law, you can't keep them X amount of, so you just want to make sure that it's actually possible, right? Like, or if it's like the consequences, I'm sending you to the principal's office. Well, like, okay, well, is that going to be possible every time, right? Because your principal might be busy. Your principal might not want you to do that. Okay, so what are the consequences that are actually doable for your particular classroom and your school? And personally, I like to, as much as I can, try to handle consequences in-house, meaning within my classroom, as much as possible, because if I don't have to involve administration, that helps keep my relationship with the student intact, right? I mean, there are obviously extremes where you have to get admin involved, you have to get parents involved. I'm not saying don't ever involve them. I'm just saying, as much as I can, try to keep it within the walls of my classroom, hold respect for my student, hold respect for myself, keep that relationship intact together, healthy and strong for us to deal with this, and then we can healthily move on. That's what I always prefer. Even if you are a teacher who wants to collectively create rules together as a class, you should still be thinking about the rules that you want in your classroom so that you can steer your students in the direction that you want your rules to be, because you don't want students to make silly rules like there's going to be no homework every day. That's a rule, right? Pizza party every Friday. Okay, no, we can't do that, but we can, so I actually had one class one year say, we want the rule to be no homework, like every day. And I said, well, we can't do that, but we can compromise. And how about we just don't have homework on Fridays? So no homework on Fridays from this class. You can go off on the weekend. You can leave class here every Friday and have your weekends to yourselves and not worry about homework. But we will have homework Monday through Thursday because we need the practice. And they were very okay with that. But in my mind, I already had the rule that there's no homework on Fridays. So it made it feel like they were winning because we got the teacher to say no homework on Friday, but really I already had that rule in my head. So have your rules, consequences ready. Even if you want to collectively do it, have that in your head. And also, if you're going to collectively make the rules, one piece of advice is maybe collectively talk about consequences too. Because if your students are collectively doing the consequences together, there's automatic buy-in to when they break the rule. All right, well, you decided that the consequence is going to be, I don't know, whatever it is that they decide. So there's no fighting them for it. There's no them, they can't, they're going to be upset, but it's well, you created the consequence, right? Okay. So then that was rule number 3. So let's recap. We have rule number 1, prep your physical classroom. Let's make it semi-organized as best we can, because I understand that we don't always get a ton of time in our classrooms before school starts. If we're lucky, maybe we get 3 days, right? So that's why I'm saying don't stress over making it perfect when you have such a limited small window to get in your classroom to prep it. Rule number 2, have your rules and consequences ready. Rule number 3, have your syllabus ready. Okay, now moving on. Rule number 4, have your first week of lesson plans done. Ideally, if you could get 2 weeks prepped, that'd be even better. But hey, I understand that this may not always be possible because from personal experience, the admin has changed the classes that I'm going to teach the day before school, the night before school even, right? And so I understand. And sometimes you might not have access. You might be a new teacher, or your school might have adopted a new textbook and you don't have access to those textbooks yet. So how in the heck am I supposed to plan when I don't know what I'm going to teach and I don't have access to a textbook? I get it. So if that's the case, we're just going to do the best we can. We're going to implement the first 3 steps that we just talked about, and we're going to just go with the flow as best as possible when it comes to lesson planning. Because at that point, if you don't know what you're teaching and you don't have access to your textbooks, there's only so much you can do, right? So we're going to go with the flow and we're not going to stress about it. But if you do have access to what you're teaching and you do have access to your textbooks, my suggestion is to prep for the first week, and if you can, again, the first 2 weeks. If you need resources and you need activities for the first week of school, hold on, because step number 5, I'm going to show you what those can be, and I'm going to show you where you can get them for free. Okay, so you want to have the first week of lesson plans done, again, if possible, ideally 2 weeks, because 2 weeks will give you the ability to actually relax when it comes to lesson planning. And it's a long enough time where you can not have to think about lesson planning for a few days, but still short enough time where you can still make adjustments and move things around if you need to, if schedule changes, if there's an assembly that's called, whatever, okay? So 2 weeks to me is that perfect sweet spot of it's enough time for you to be able to have like 3 to 4 days where you just don't have to think about lesson planning at all in that, in that kind of middle of the time period. And then it's long enough where, again, you can like change the plan and it's not going to throw everything off. It's the perfect sweet spot. So, okay, so that's it. Have your lesson plans done for the week, 2 weeks if possible. Finally, if you need first week of resources, if you would like to check out the Pre-Algebra Teachers Math membership and have your whole entire year planned for you, please go to prealgebrateachers.com. We have everything you need to teach 6th, 7th, 8th grade Algebra 1 with your bell ringers, PowerPoints, lesson plans, practice problems, printable resources, digital resources, tests, quizzes, everything to make teaching middle school math super easy, experience more aha moments, and to really just close those learning gaps. So, how to give a shout out. Okay, so let's talk about what your first week activities can be. So, my first activity, if you would like to grab any of these, use the link below in the description box and you can grab these absolutely for free. I love this. This is my skills list. I love giving this to every single one of my students the first week of school because it covers every single every single Common Core resource, and there's a spot for us to record the date that it's taught, reviewed, and assessed. This is literal proof to my students after the first month, halfway through the year, and then, oh my gosh, at the end of the year of what they have learned. It is true proof to them how much growth they've made and just how much they've learned. It's incredible for them to see themselves how much they've done in my class, okay? Next, we have these character cards. When you download these, there will be several different templates to choose from, and your students can pick and choose the template that speaks to them the most. There are 2 per page. So what your students will do is I picked this template. It's got little stars on it. Drew a picture of myself. And then there's a spot for your students to write their abilities and their special skill. So what I like to do is you can see there's no spot for their name. And what your students can do, what I like to have my students do is they draw a picture themselves, they fill out the sentence, then I take them and I shuffle all the cards. I'm shuffling and I'm shuffling and I'm shuffling, okay? So as I'm shuffling, once I'm done shuffling, I will hand a card out to each student. That student will look to see, okay, who do I think this person is? This person says they teach math and they're always do their best. And now the student can guess and say, I think that this is Mrs. Martin. And if it is correct, which in this case it is, I will say, yes, that's me. Cool. If it's wrong, then we say, all right, try again. If we can't figure it out, who's the person? You did too well. And what I love about this is when students are done, I collect them all and I get to decorate my classroom wall with it. I like to decorate my classroom door, and it's really great if you have like a meet the parents or meet the teacher night or whatever at the beginning of the year, and then parents walk in and they can, find which drawing is their students. It just adds a little bit of, flair into the classroom. And I love being able to decorate my classroom with actual student artwork. And remember, if you were worried about prepping your classroom at the beginning with step 1, having to make your classroom look perfect, what better way to decorate your classroom than with actual student work? Okay, and then finally, our last activity is a bingo activity. There are 3 different, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess different types of bingo here, where it's all bingo, but just different subjects. So this one is Who Are You Bingo? This one is Movie TV Bingo. And this one is gaming bingo. So students will go around and find the student, find other students who might match each statement. So in the Who Are You bingo, there's one that says like, I love to read, I love to draw, I have an older brother, I have a dog, I have a cat. And this bingo activity is 5 across, 5 down. If you don't want to have your students fill out that many, you could do whatever you want. You could do 3 across, 3 down. Maybe there's like a mega winner if they can find 5 across or 5 down. So you could do what you want and adjust to how you would like. But I love this because it forces students to talk to each other, especially if we have kids who don't know each other yet. And it starts to really foster that community feel in your classroom, because truly the first week of school, that's what you want to do, is you want to be community building. You want to make sure that your students feel seen and heard. You want them to be able to feel comfortable to share their thoughts, to share about themselves, because ultimately we want them to be sharing their thoughts and reasoning in our math classes, right? And that all starts at the beginning of the year. If you have not had a chance to grab all of these resources, you'll want to use the link right below this video, and you can grab them absolutely for free. If you need any extra help with getting ready back to school, let me know. I'm here, and I hope that the heading back to school this year is super easy and super painless for you. Until next time, talk soon. Bye for now.